Hey folks, John Peterson here, and in today's video I wanted to show you what's in my camera bag for a particular trip. In a couple of weeks I'm heading up to Katmai National Park up in Alaska, and I'm taking a group of folks and we're going to go photograph the grizzly bears. This is about my 8th or 9th trip up into the park to do this workshop, and I'm fortunate in that I've learned what to take and what not to take. So I thought I'd give you just a brief insight on what I'm going to be taking to spend 6 days photographing grizzly bears and the landscape, the fall color, all that kind of great stuff up in Alaska. And the thing with this trip that's kind of unique is that we will be taking float planes into a wilderness location. From there, we're going to land on a lake and we're going to take small little 6-person rafts from one lake, float slowly through bear country down to another lake to get picked up and fly back to our lodge for the night. So each day we never know exactly where we're going to be because so much depends on where the bears are. But our plan so far in this fall trip is to use these rafts to work our way through bear country. When I've done this trip earlier in the year, like July and August, what we oftentimes do is fly into a wilderness lake where kind of near where the bears are, and then spend time walking or hiking up and down the creeks in search of the bears. And normally they're not hard to find at all. There's so many grizzly bears up there. But in later September, the bears have moved further inland, and one of the best strategies that we found is to use these rafts to navigate through the land instead of doing a hike. And, you know, working on these rafts, it's a little interesting because we don't take our camera bags because we're on a smaller boat. So our cameras and our camera equipment is generally around our necks, and any spare stuff is either in my pockets or it's in one communal dry bag for the boat. So I don't bring a lot of gear each time we go out into the field. That in and of itself necessitates that I have to limit what I'm packing and what I'm bringing. The other consideration is we're flying on small aircraft. I'm going to fly from Portland, Oregon up to Anchorage, and then we're going to take an air taxi, a smaller aircraft, from Anchorage out to our lodge. And there's a weight limit of 70 pounds for all of my gear, camera gear plus all my clothing, on that flight. And this is in terms of weight limits, this is a pretty generous weight limit. I went to Greenland and had about 35 pounds to 30 pounds max of stuff, which is hard to do when you are a photographer. But in this case we have 70 pounds, and so I don't need to cull my gear that hard. But knowing what I do and what this trip is like, I don't need to bring a lot of equipment, which is awesome. So let's start with cameras. As you should on most every big trip, especially, bring 2 camera bodies. I'm going to be taking my Fujifilm X-T5, which I'm filming this on, and I'm going to be taking my X-T3 as a backup. And along with that, I'm going to be taking a couple of batteries, 3 batteries for each camera. Now for my backup, I really don't care. They're just going to be in my camera bag, just in a small little ditty bag. But for my primary bag, I carry extra batteries in a waterproof case like this. This is a Lensgo model 850, and I found it on Amazon, and it carries a couple of batteries and a couple of memory cards in it. And I can slip this into my pocket, or my waders, or my jacket, my pants, whatever it may be. It's small enough that I always have batteries and memory cards with me when I'm away. So as I said, I'm bringing my X-T5, I'm bringing my X-T3. I'm going to leave my medium format GFX at home, largely because it doesn't have a fast enough frame rate for wildlife photography. It's a great landscape camera, but just not for wildlife. I'm bringing 3 batteries for each camera. So that's kind of my big main still camera. And then I'm also bringing my GoPro. This is a Hero 9, I believe. Yep, Hero 9. I'm bringing this for out in the field. I can mount it on the cold shoe or on the hot shoe on my camera with the cold shoe mount. I might have this riding on the top of my camera body as I'm photographing. This is also great for underwater stuff if I want to catch a salmon going by. So this is another camera I'm bringing. And then lastly, I'm bringing my Osmo Pocket. At least I think I'm going to bring it. Really not waterproof, really not adventurous in the sense that the GoPro is, but it's great video quality, great for doing videos and vlogs. So far, this is in my pack, but it may get pulled in the last second just because it's a little less versatile than the GoPro. Let's talk about memory cards real quick. I am, along with that 850 LensGo box that you saw, I'm also bringing a wallet full of memory cards. And I'm bringing enough memory cards that conceivably I could change out my cards every single day if I wanted to. Memory cards are cheap. Memory is cheap. Compared to this trip, which is not cheap, right? Any of these big photo trips are generally fairly expensive. And so I don't want to lose any of my photographs. And so I bring enough memory cards that I will never ever fill my cards, because when you fill a card, you can sometimes run a little bit of a risk of data loss or data integrity loss. But so I'll generally shoot my cards to a half to 3/4 full, and then I'll change them out. Or if I'm going out in a particularly wet environment, I may pull some cards that are already used and put in some fresh ones, just so I can preserve my images, at least one copy of my images on these memory cards. I never delete files while I'm there. I never format cards while I'm there. I do all of that stuff before I leave. So I've already gone through and formatted every single one of these memory cards to know that I don't have any images on here, because it's kind of frustrating when you put in a new card and discover that it's half full with from a shoot that you did weeks ago. So I've formatted everything. Everything's clean, ready to go, and I have enough of these to swap them out as I see fit. And I'll talk more about data backup here when I show you some of the other stuff that's in my bag. All right, let's talk a little bit about lenses. When I first traveled up to Alaska and started running this workshop, I would bring my typical 3 lenses that I bring on every workshop or every photo outing. I would bring a wide angle, a medium telephoto, and a long telephoto. And I found after a couple of trips that I never used my medium telephoto. I was either doing wide angle landscapes or I was doing zoom work with my long telephoto lens. And so I stopped bringing that lens on this trip. And I normally don't travel without basically a 70 to 200. I usually have that in my bag, but on this trip to Alaska, because of my weight concerns, and I really won't use it that often, I just don't bring it. The lens that's going to spend most of the time on my camera bodies is the Fujifilm 100 to 400. This is my workhorse of a lens, and I use it all the time. Not just for wildlife, I also use it for landscapes, architectural stuff. I use it so much. It's kind of my go-to lens. So this is going to be on the body most of the time. Now, the funny thing on this particular trip up in Alaska, being on the boats, there's times where we are so close to the bears that a 100 to 400 is too much lens. Just simply too much lens. And in that case, I wish I would have my 70 to 200 or 50 to 140 in Fuji nomenclature. But if I'm only going to take one zoom lens, one big zoom lens, the 100 to 400 is the one that's going to be it. Because I'm bringing that, I'll also bring my 1.4 teleconverter. There may be times where I need a little extra reach, and this is small, it's lightweight, doesn't I'm not suffering any penalties with it. So I'll bring my 1.4 teleconverter. I am doubtful that I'm going to use it, but there may be times where I might. You never know. When we do the walking, sort of the July August trips where we're walking up and down the streams, we're not as close to the bears typically, so I will definitely need my 1 to 400 and my teleconverter, and that's usually a great go-to combination. But in this trip, just the 1 to 400, and being on the Fujifilm crop body, you know, it's significantly more. I think it goes up to 540 when you factor in the crop factor. And then for a general purpose lens, I normally bring my Fuji 16 to 55, which is wonderfully tack sharp. I love that lens. That's my primary landscape lens. But because of weight and size considerations, I am going to take my Fujifilm 16 to 80. I'm going to lose a little bit of image quality in this, which, okay, but it's going to more than make up for the little loss in IQ with longer reach, lighter weight, and smaller size, which again, because I have these space and weight considerations, is pretty important. I took this lens with me to Greenland in 2024 and absolutely loved it. It performed great and image quality was wonderful. It was acceptable enough for me, and so I'm going to take this up to Alaska for the first time and see what we do. When we go up there, there may be days that we don't fly because of the rain. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't get that. But if we do have a land-based day, we'll go out and photograph waterfalls, fall color, Russian Orthodox Church, fishing communities, all that kind of stuff. And so I need a wider angle lens to do just more walk-around kinds of photography. All right, some of the last little bits of camera-specific bits and bobs that I'm taking is, of course, a battery charger for my primary camera. Now, both my Fujis, I can plug in a USB cable, let's say from my computer, from a wall wart, and charge the battery directly in the camera. But for my primary camera, and my two other batteries, I want to have a charger so I can charge them overnight. Make sure I have at least 2 fully charged batteries at all times. For my backup, I'm not going to bring one of these just because I hopefully will never ever need my backup. And if I do, I will have to suffer through charging the camera or charging the battery in the camera. Now, the other thing I'm going to bring is a Peak Design shoulder strap. I never use shoulder straps, just in general. My camera is typically on a tripod, or if I'm hand holding, I really don't need a shoulder strap for that. But for this trip, definitely need a shoulder strap. And the reason being is that most days when we go out, I'm not going to bring my camera bag. My camera's going to be hanging around my neck, both on the small aircraft that we use to fly into the park, as well as when sitting on the rafts. And it's really nice sitting on the rafts because it's I can give my muscles a rest. We're out there for 6, 7, maybe 8 hours. Give my muscles a rest from holding onto the camera, and then it's also, of course, very readily accessible should a bear pop up out of the bush. And so this Peak Design camera strap, it's relatively lightweight, relatively unobtrusive, and it's going to be get a good little workout up in Alaska. Then I also am going to bring my little storm jacket for my camera and lens, so great waterproof rain cover. We may be out in sprinkles if that happens, but I always have this in my camera bag no matter what. I don't use it very often. Sometimes when I'm out doing landscape stuff, I'll just use shower caps from the motel to put it over my camera body in short lens. Pull the shower cap off when I need to take a photograph, put it back on. But because we're going to be out all day long and that camera's going to be hanging exposed to the elements, I want a more substantial rain cover over my camera and my lens. Then lastly, one little tool that I always bring that's camera related is this little multi-tool from Small Rig. It's got Phillips head pliers, regular pliers, but it's got hex wrenches as well, which are great for base plates that come loose, which they always seem to typically do. And especially as a workshop leader, I need to have a couple of tools handy to help work on people's rigs should they have a problem up in the field. So I have to bring some tools with me to do just that. Now, the last piece of my photographic puzzle is tripods. Do I need to bring a tripod or not? I have brought heavy tripods, light tripods, monopods, no tripods. I've done everything on these Alaska trips. And for this trip this year, going on the rafts, what I'm going to plan on doing is not bring a tripod or a monopod out onto the rafts. The more gear you have, the more of a pain in the butt it is. Number one, loading in and out of these small de Havilland Beaver float planes, and then number two, managing gear on the rafts. I want to enjoy the experience. I want to be attentive to all the clients especially and help them. And even for the clients, I'm recommending not to bring any sort of support device on these raft trips, and let's handhold everything. However, if we do any land-based adventures, we are going to go hopefully up to Brooks Falls, Brooks Camp, which sometimes is nice to have a tripod. If we get rained out, as I said, we're going to shoot waterfalls and fall color and all that kind of stuff. I am going to bring a small travel tripod. It extends to about 46 inches. It's sitting out in my truck. I didn't bring it in for the video, sorry. But this tripod comes from Leo Photo, and I use a lot of their tripods nowadays, and it's really small and really compact, which is wonderful. And then I'm going to try out this new ball head that I got. This is the Platy ball from the Platy company. And what's kind of fun about this is this ball head, it's smaller than my BH40. It's lighter than my RRS BH40, and it only cost me $40. So I want to actually, I'm going to gamble a little bit, and I'm going to take this out in the field for the first time up to Alaska and put it through its paces. So a small lightweight solution is in the cards for me, and that'll all go into my checked baggage. I usually don't, especially for a trip like this, I won't carry my tripod externally on my camera bag. I'll just take a risk that and hope that my bag makes it up there, and along with my tripod. And if I'm missing my tripod, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to be a really big problem because my primary focus in shooting will be on the rafts, doing handhold shots with my Fuji. All right, let's talk about some of the bits and bobs, because we as photographers have a lot of bits and bobs that we need to manage and deal with on trips like this. For editing images, I'm going to be taking my small little 14-inch MacBook Pro up with me. Oh, and one caveat for you. Where we're going, there is no cell service. There's no internet service. So we're going to be cut off from the outside world. We can send limited small emails out, but in general, regular cell service and internet service, like what we expect down here in the lower 48, doesn't happen up where we're going. So everything that I need electronically, I need to be self-sufficient. So on my MacBook, all of my applications are updated, and I can work locally. I don't need any cloud connectivity for my images. So I'm going to use my MacBook Pro as my primary editing tool while I'm there. I'm also bringing a small solid state drive that I can connect to my laptop to back up my images. So here's my second backup. And then I've got one product that's showing up, which is the Pocket Cloud, which is a brand new product that I just got off of Kickstarter. It's showing up today at some point. And this will give me a third backup. And what it is, you don't need a computer, you don't need anything. All you do is just put your memory card in, select the backup mode, and back this stuff up to an internal hard drive. So I'm getting this, and I'm going to test it up in Alaska, and I'll do some videos for you on that. But I primarily rely on my solid state drive, and then of course as a leader I've got presentations and teaching materials that I have on here. But one of the things for me packing for trips, I love to use small bags, and predominantly color-coded bags, so I can remember what's where. And so in this green bag, I've got all of my action cameras, so my GoPro and my in my pocket. And with it, I will carry a small little microphone, and then I'll have small little micro SD cards for both cameras, also stored in this one bag. And this goes in my camera bag. So everything sort of handheld, small action camera-ish goes into this bag. And then this other bag that I have, this is all my computer-related equipment. So all of my cables, of course I've got my MacBook charging cable. I'm going to bring a small, powerful wall wart from Anker instead of my big one that's heavy. This one's lighter weight, and it does the job of powering up my laptop. I am going to bring a mouse. I can get by with a trackpad, but sometimes a mouse is nice to have. Of course, I'm bringing adapters and memory sticks because I'm the leader. I'm bringing a lot of USB cables, A to C, C to C, HDMI, all that kind of stuff goes in this little bag here. And so that way I know that all of my electronic devices, accessories will be in this one blue pouch. The other thing that I always travel with too, of course, we have to power our personal devices. I'm bringing an iPad and an iPhone, an iWatch, and headphones, right, as my personal stuff. And here's all the cables and a charger that goes along with all my personal stuff in this clear pouch that I can see. This happens to be a kind of an older think tank pouch. And these things work great. I've got these in multiple sizes, but I keep all my personal stuff here, my business laptop accessories in here, and my action camera stuff in here. And that way I stay organized. One question I get asked a lot from my participants, because many of them are landscape photographers, is should I bring filters? And generally, I would say for a trip like this, we probably don't need to bring filters, but if you have the space and the weight requirements met, I would suggest bringing some filters. I'm going to bring a couple of them. I use the Maven magnetic filter system, which I absolutely love. I'm going to bring a circular polarizer to cut down glare and bring out some color if we're doing some landscape work. I'm also going to bring a 6-stop ND filter and a 10-stop ND filter if I wanted to do some really long shutter speeds. I probably won't use these on the large telephoto, the 100 to 400, but I'll use them on the 16 to 80 when we're out doing more ground-based photography of general subjects, whatever that may be. So filters are nice, but not required on a trip like this. All right, so here's just a few more little accessories that I bring on a trip such as this. Of course, I've got my Apple AirTags that are going to go into my camera bag and into my luggage, just so I make sure I know where everything is at all times. One of the things I do slip into my camera bag all the time is a small little first aid kit. It's got bandages, some ointments, I'll have some pain reliever with me, some moleskin, those types of things. I carry this kind of stuff with me all the time. I'm going to take a small little blower and lens cleaning wipes, but I'll also bring a couple of lint-free towels to keep my lens element dry and the rest of my camera dry should we experience some moisture. I'm going to bring, multiple sizes of Ziploc bags because you never know when Ziploc bags might come in handy. I'm also going to throw in a dry bag that I might clip to my belt just to have some little extra accessories affixed to my person while I am in the boat or in the airplane. Bringing a pair of sunglasses, of course, because Lord knows we might see sun in Alaska. And then the other thing, yes, I will admit to my age, I do need reading glasses. So sometimes the menus on some of the cameras and the settings, they're a little hard to read. So I need glasses. During normal trips and normal days, I'll walk around with a pair of reading glasses on a lanyard. But when we're on the boat in these airplanes, we've got our waders on and our rain jackets and hats and gloves and blah, 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 blah. Sometimes having another accoutrement around your neck it just gets in the way. And I only need glasses for reading, so I'm going to bring a pair of foldable glasses to have in my camera bag in the off chance I need to read something while we're out in the field. And then last but not least, I'm a little bit of an analog person, but I bring a small journal with me, a small little journal book with me at all times. Sometimes it's just nice to be able to write pen to paper, i.e., what happens if your phone dies? You're out of battery, we don't have cell signal, I don't want to type in my phone. Sometimes words flow better on paper than they do electronically, so I'll usually throw in a small little notepad, partly for emergencies, partly for journaling. On each trip that I take that's big like this, I will keep a diary of the day. I'll spend 5 to 20 minutes, depends on the trip, just jotting down what happened each day. That way, when I get back home and have more time, I can reconstruct the trip if I wanted to write out a longer article about the trip or just add to a slideshow that I'm making for friends and family, whatever it may be. Having a representation of what happened each day is helpful, because I tell you, on these big mega photo trips, it's real easy to forget some of the small little things that makes these trips special. And so while it's still fresh in my mind, I'll often jot down reminders and memories in either my phone or in this little journal book to help me recall some of the richness that happened each and every day during a trip like this. And last but not least is my camera bag, the one that I'm going to be taking with me. I'm a member of the Bag of the Month Club, like most photographers are, and I have several to choose from. And for this trip, I'm going to take my Think Tank Mindshift 26 liter. I've got a 33 liter that I sometimes bring, especially when I'm bringing my drone. But in this case, with such few lenses, I don't need much more than this small little 26 liter. The thing I really like about this, number one, it's a back opener, so I can set the face of the pack down and open up to access my camera gear. Where my Gitzo or my Gura gear that I love, I have to set the camera straps down into the mud to access the camera compartment. So this back opener is really nice. Then number two, up front, it's got a laptop and a lot of organizational pockets up front. And so this handles a lot of my office stuff in the front of the pouch and all my camera gear in the back of the pouch. And it's a really lightweight bag, so it cuts down on my overall weight. It's over half as light as my Gura gear bag. So when I'm dealing with weight restrictions, I'll try to find or bring a lighter weight bag such as this with me. All of the gear that I just showed you fits comfortably in here. I'm not putting anything in my checked bag that's essential to my photography. All my batteries are going to stay with me, of course, in the in the carry-on, which is what the TSA recommends. Just my tripod, that's the only camera gear that's going to go in my checked luggage. So my little Mindshift bag is going to get another great workout. It just came back from the desert in Monument Valley earlier this year, and so it's going to get another adventure going up to Alaska. All right, there you go. There's a look at a little bit of the gear that I'm bringing on this photo workshop to Katmai National Park, Alaska, to photograph the Alaskan brown bears. This is an amazing trip. We've got a great group going. I'm really excited to share this experience with the first timers that are in this group. We do have a couple of repeat customers because they are so enthusiastic about this experience. So if you have any questions about any of the gear that I showed you, please feel free to leave comments down below. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe to it, tickle the bell, get notifications, do all that kind of wonderful stuff. All of your support really helps me and this channel continue to produce content for you. All right, folks. Well, I hope you have a great day. I'll be shooting lots of video and I'll be doing some recaps from Alaska after this trip. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and keep shooting. Bye-bye.